right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 49 for Thursday, May 19th, 2016. I am Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, joined in the PETM podcast studio by Pregame Engineer Andrew Shorn. What's happening, man?
Welcome to the fastest growing racing podcast on the interwebs. We are happy to be here with you again tonight. Hashtag PETM49.
PETM 49. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. You know how we always do it. What you drinking tonight?
I'm not sure. I think I got some Jefferson's and Red Rock Ginger Ale. Jefferson's bourbon, that is. As in Thomas Jefferson's bourbon.
Ooh, his recipe and all that, it sounds like?
Yeah, it's kind of a rye.
Kind of a rye?
Yeah,
good
a little
stuff.
bit more rye heavy.
Good stuff. Of course.
What do you have?
Well, we're kind of attached to the hip. I am also drinking the same thing you're drinking because you brought it over, and I said, that looks pretty darn tasty, so old Rusty's going to have him a sip. And on deck, of course, the local favorite, the old Sweetwater IPA we've been drinking since college and before I'm willing to admit. So, cheers, posse. What's up, y'all?
Let's do this. Everybody raise your glass. We're going to get this thing started. I'm not going to say we're doing anything different these days. We're not going to change what we're doing here, but
we're going to have some fun today.
But we're getting closer to milestones and stuff like that. We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
We're coming off.
We got a birthday episode coming up.
Killer weekend.
Ooh, yes.
So, and we got good stuff to come in NASCAR's home city.
Yep. Well, I've been in D.C. all week, and so I am happy as crap to be right back in the studio. Let's kick it off. It's episode number 49. And, you know, like we always like to do, just tell you a bit about number 49 here. I think the most recent guys that you might think of, Kenny Schrader was in the 49, J.J. Yaley.
For sure.
Yep, Yaley was in the 49 for a bit. But I want to tell you all about something that old Rusty dug up. Old man called G.C. Spencer. Old G.C. Spencer ran 415 races in the number 49 car.
Any relation to Jimmy?
Good question. I don't know that. I don't think so.
Probably not.
I don't think so. But from 1958 to 1977, he was running that, and he's a World War II veteran in the U.S. Navy.
Well, hallelujah. Hats off to you.
Hats off. Yeah, right?
Goodness.
So, went from the Navy to driving
Greatest
cars.
generation.
Didn't win a race, but third of the races he was in, he finished top 10. Passed away in 2007 at age 82. Cheers to you, Mr. G.C. Spencer. I love doing this.
Cheers, G.C. Spencer. And on that note, I'm going to interject really quick because I got to watch a really cool thing. I don't know if it was a CNN video segment or what, but on that note, recently a World War II vet, wheelchair bound, got to meet a concentration camp survivor that he saved.
Oh, wow.
It was a really
goosebumps.
Yeah,
that
big
just happened.
time.
Jeez.
Like, you want to feel really proud to be an American. Just go Google World War II vet meets concentration camp survivor. It's very recent, very current.
Yeah, I'll be looking that up for sure. Let's give you a little update. Oh, I was going to say, I love doing the episode number thing because I'm learning more and seeing all these old dudes that come up.
Well, it gives us a reason to do a little research.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, especially, research that I actually care about doing as opposed to, researching some book back in 11th grade and writing that thing. I'm still bitter. Anyway. Quick update on the old PETM podcast car, the 24K Kenny Smith car in Iowa up there at the Lee County Speedway. Didn't have a race last week due to the weather, but we are looking primed and ready. I know. We're doing our good weather dance, doing the bull dance. We're feeling the flow. Tomorrow, live on Periscope. Follow Heather 4Kids 420. Something. Sorry.
Oh, crap. I could probably help you out with that.
Twitter handle there. Maybe Kenny will tell us here in a second.
You know what? I'll get it figured out by the shout-outs.
Sounds good. Let's get straight into it, man. How about Dover? Huh?
How about best race I've seen in 3 years, maybe, or something?
Holy crap.
I mean, some of those California races were fantastic, but Dover delivered start to finish.
Start to finish, and at the finish, we'll get to the finish, and we'll get to the middle, we'll get to start, but I wanted to say at the finish, my heart was beating faster, and after it was over and checkered flag was waving, I stood up, and my hands were shaking. Like, I was that into it. It was insane.
I stood and walked around my living room, or my den, or my TV room, however y'all describe it, and I stared at the TV with a beer in my hand and never drank of it because I'm watching the race go on between the 24 and the 42, and I don't know if we'll get to that later or what, but it was fascinating. And then to see Kyle ultimately prevail and then go run down the 20.
Ran him down in like half a lap.
It's like, here come the goosebumps again. Yep. That happens. That's how passionate we are, y'all. Like, it's an emotional situation for us. When a race is that compelling, we have to talk about it because we spend plenty of time poo-pooing when it's not good.
Yep.
So for sure, spend even more energy talking about when it's great because, I ran a poll. I'll bring it up now. I ran a poll on the PETM podcast handle about, I said, was this a good race? Yes. Was this a good race? Hell yes, all caps with exclamation points. And was this a good race? No, parentheses, I'm dumb.
I'm pretty sure I voted no, I'm dumb just for
fun
ish and giggles.
So that means what that means is 6 people voted no for real. Or did what I did.
We're trolling like I was.
You know what? I trolled new Braves fan follower of ours about something similar. It was like, are you excited that Freddie was fired? And I said, no, I'm dumb. And I was like, I picked that one because that's like you and I are on the same wavelength.
Yep, that's a fun one. Let's start at the beginning. First thing I noticed, and props to Fox for putting the camera on Carl Edwards' car, like on the splitter it looked like, but it had to be just facing out of the grill or something. That place is fast. And we knew it was fast, but I had never seen that perspective of fast when it was right down on the ground and seeing the cars just fly through there on a 1 mile here. And it's banked. They talked about it on some other podcast. Door Bumper Clear said it. Like, it's banked further in the straightaways than a bunch of other tracks are in the corners.
Yeah, straightaways are banked at 11 degrees, I think, which is flatter than the corners at Loudon, which are 7 degrees. 2 to 7 variable banking at Loudon.
Yeah, and Phoenix, I think, was brought up in that same discussion.
Phoenix has a 9-degree corner.
Yep.
Martinsville corners are 12 degrees.
Okay.
For
some reason I thought they were.
Yeah. I mean, the tri-oval at Daytona is 18 degrees, y'all.
Yeah.
The tri-oval.
Yeah. This place is fast. It was crazy how fast.
Qualified 62 mile an hour or whatever.
It's nuts on the 1 mile with pretty tight corners too.
Well, I've been waiting for Dover to be this because we've been calling it. Everybody's been calling it the Bristol on steroids for years because we have Martinsville and we have Loudon, very similar, half mile versus 1 mile.
Yep.
And we have Bristol and Dover, which like on paper look like they should be similar, but they haven't behaved that way. They haven't delivered because Jimmy runs off and wins all the damn races.
Yeah, well, that'll happen.
Well, that might have happened if he doesn't have the thing, but Dover delivered in a way that it hasn't delivered since you and I became fans of this sport.
Well, sure. The big draw with Dover, I mean, the Monster Mile and the whole
miles
catwalk that goes over the top of the track. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's one that's just a bridge, and there's the other one where there's actually like seating. You can watch, sit down, and you can buy a ticket to watch the race from on top of the track.
Yeah. But the racing, I can't remember a time, and there's a reason I can't remember a time that was
they've
that
been
electric
the last 5 years.
And so let's start at the beginning of the race. It started to look like it could become that way. Kevin Harvick
it was trying to
checks out for a bit, starts lapping cars. I think I had heard before that you could finish 2 laps down. 10, 20 years ago, you could finish 2 laps down and be 16th, 15th. I think somebody on one of the podcasts I was listening to said that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it looked like it could head that way. The way that Kevin Harvick was checking out, track rubber's up. Cars get a little closer together.
The thing is, we've seen Dover rubber up that way, but what was different about it is it was because we had a softer tire that actually slowed down. I think the difference between the last few years is you saw the rubber go down, you didn't see the fall off as much.
Did you see the time lapse that Fox did too? So another kudos to Fox on this one. I mean, we can poop on them at other times, but I think they did 2 good things. One was that down low camera, but the other one, they did the time lapse in the middle of the race. They said check out the track. We just did a time lapse and took a picture, one frame every second or whatever.
Watch the rubber go
Played
back
it back
down.
Rubber came up, and then caution comes. Rubber all gets eaten up.
Oh, yeah, they pull it right back up.
Yep.
They pull it right back up.
It was cool.
Or did you see, like, when Tony Stewart broke the rear end gear, and so he comes off the pace, the tires instantly cool off, and just peels 2 stripes right off.
Yeah.
Or somebody pitted early. I think, was it Kyle or Denny trying to beat the thing, and then they get caught on pit road or whatever?
Yeah. I think it was Denny.
Pulled down, and you just see this stripe where he peels the rubber up because they're not working the tires.
And you see him when they take the tires off, and they were just doing the whole shaving it off thing.
Oh, it's
and,
got
it's
an
inch.
It's got a half inch of boogers on there.
Yeah. So later in the wreck, later in the wreck, that's like the NASCAR
later
Freudian
there was
slip.
a wreck.
Yeah, later there was quite a wreck thanks to my pick, Jimmy Johnson. Woo!
Yeah, way to go, jerk.
Yeah, right. So took out. The bottom half of the not bottom half in terms of who's racing, but the bottom lane. Everyone in that lane gets tore up. Essentially,
yeah, well,
it was a big one than we've seen at
happens
Talladega.
in the top lane, but it gets a lot of basically gets
top
everybody
lane.
within
Everybody
3 or 4 rows.
Yep.
Because Jimmy, like, by the time he gets turned, like, he's across both lanes, and then people are fanning out, but like the announcers and spotters and everybody says about Dover, it's a self-cleaning racetrack. That's why we talked about the banking on the straightaway.
Yep.
Everything eventually winds up down at the bottom by the wall.
Yep.
Which is why going high is generally the strategy, which is why Junior went high. Ultimately paid the price because Mears spun back across. But let's talk about what failed real quick. Jimmy Johnson goes to shift to third, passes the gate, there's no gear there. Like,
Nothing
he passes the gate, but obviously the linkage broke, so the handle could pass the gate.
Yep.
But the linkage to move the gear over.
And who was right behind him? They gave him some room. He even said it in the interview. He's like,
it was Truex.
Truex gave me some room, gave me a chance. I tried to hit fourth. I tried to hit second. I was just hunting for a gear.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there.
And that's why that he broke the selector linkage, because he couldn't even go back into second.
Yeah. It wasn't
done. That third was gone or fourth was gone.
Gone.
The linkage broke. So then the handle's just flopping, and it doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah. And, like I said, Talladega be damned. This was the big one. Big one.
18 cars.
18 cars.
One short of the biggest wreck we've ever had at Dover. But, as we've discussed, since we've gone to 2 wide restarts, this is a thing that happens.
This is a thing.
If you break in the front of the field, you're going to collect a ton of cars.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in the first 3 or 4 laps of a restart, expect the big one.
Everybody kind of.
It would happen at Bristol. It has happened at Bristol. It hadn't got 18 cars because they're not doing 150 miles an hour.
Right. That's the other thing. We talked about the speed. So yeah. So everybody said, that's just a racing deal. It's a bummer. Nobody was PO'd at anybody. They just understood. They knew what it was like. It didn't happen to anybody, especially Junior gets all caught up in it, but he's got nowhere to be pissed. This is a guy on the other side of his garage.
Well, I think what he's pissed about is that regardless of what was at fault, they've had a bunch of bad runs, and his frustration was more about the fact that every time they got on the track in practice, he hated the car.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to his audio, which I listened to the Dale Jr. download, the entire time. So this wreck happened at lap 340.
Yep.
So, he's raced all day to this point, hard, and is still in the top 5.
Yep.
And he has bitched on the radio all day. He's like, this thing is just bouncing around this track like we got basketballs on this thing. He's like, I hate this track. Like, he's just really unhappy.
Yep.
And to get caught up in a fluky kind of a, really, we're running at the front. I hate this place, and
it just culminates in that.
We were doing this right for 3 hours, and now we have this happen. He was pissed.
Yep. Something we talked about in the pre-show. We keep talking about what a great race this was, and I brought it up to you and said it was a great race at the expense of taking out everyone who was probably going to win the race.
Yeah, and that's such a weird phenomenon we see in auto racing.
Mm-hmm.
In that we can still have a fantastic product and people get good finishes, and then we talk about that. We don't talk about how there's 5 cars that got taken out that were the strongest cars of the day. You know, the Jimmys, the Kevins, the Penske cars. Those cars all got wiped out.
Yep. Yep. And so they're out of the race.
Carl, and then, about 20 laps later.
Yeah, courtesy of maybe Larson, maybe a racing deal. I don't know.
Maybe a racing deal.
Yeah. So is that okay? Are we allowed
to reward the good finishers?
Are we allowed to like this race so much when we just took out all the possible winners?
Well,
probable winners.
Hell yes is the answer to that, because it was such a fluky thing that happened with Jimmy's car. Like that, transmission failures are extremely rare in NASCAR. Just like engine failures. Engine failures are arguably more common than transmission failures.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine. I think it's part of it.
Engine failures don't cause you to completely.
Most often you don't wreck the field.
Right. That's what I mean.
Most often you don't wreck the field.
Wreck 18 cars.
But every time you miss a shift on a restart in the front of the field, every time you do that, somebody else gets collected.
Yeah, you get some sort of accordion effect, and somebody in that accordion is the small fold.
Yes, the small fold.
So I agree with you, especially being such a fluke accident, and again, we keep saying it, a racing deal. You know, if he had gone down on somebody and intentionally tried to wreck them and then took out 18 people, I think it'd be a whole different. We'd still have that great finish, but I think that would be the story, is what happened there. Versus the story is absolutely
it's overwhelmingly not the wreck; it's the racing.
Yep,
and that's because we had 30 laps to the end of extremely good racing.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps again. You see,
I mean, it's
insane.
That's tell you how passionate
every time
you are
just thinking
about
it.
I mean, to see, like, I tell you what, I'll be honest with you. As a fan, I freaked out when Chase passed Kyle and looked like he maybe had a shot at running down Kenseth. I was freaked out. I was ready to flip my couch over.
Yeah,
and obviously that's not the way it shook out, but Kyle Larson actually ran up front all day and contended for the lead a couple of different times.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely had probably the best car.
Yep.
Maybe he's still learning how to race it. I think we're going to transition to a segment now. I'm choosing now.
Yep, do it.
That, Kyle Larson very much wants to do it the right way. He had a bad experience in a late model where he flat dumped a guy for the win and received a boatload of negative fan feedback that he was not ready to process. So for all the times that he's been right there, both in the Xfinity Series with Kyle Busch, now 2 different races at Bristol, and then we have this race at Dover where he was right there, but not willing to pull the trigger because he, in his mind, wrecking Matt Kenseth wasn't worth the risk of trying to move him enough to get by.
How big a risk do you think was wrecking, like, versus what Carl did to Kyle Busch a couple weeks ago?
Right.
Do you think he just didn't feel confident in moving him?
I think both of them had really unstable cars. I think if you go back and watch, especially, I think the camera was facing, they had a camera shot where we're looking head on at the cars instead of looking at the tail. And when Kyle gets in there and gets Matt just a little bit loose, he immediately loses his car too.
Well, yeah, and I mean
that's why he doesn't make the pass.
That's why he couldn't pass, exactly.
And so I think they were just on the edge enough that if he hits Matt any harder, they probably both wreck.
Okay, yeah.
If that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think he still had the option of just straight up,
I think
wrecking him out.
Here's the thing: is what you wanted if you were Kyle Larson is you wanted to catch Matt going into the corner. And give him that one little tap in the rear that pushes him up the track.
Yeah, that gets him up there.
And that's what Carl did to Kyle.
And then, like you said, self-cleaning kind of feeds back down. He'll be all right.
All he has to do is lift. It was 5 cars back to Chase. He probably was going to maintain his position.
Yep.
And at that point, you've only harvested 1 position and a trophy, as opposed to what we saw at Kenseth with Joey, where not only did you harvest 13 positions from Kenseth, you also harvested his transfer spot.
And you harvested some vitriol for later.
And you acted a little bit jerky.
Yeah.
Like I deserve to take the spot. Well, Kyle Larson has seen all that happen. Guess who the common denominator is there?
Mm-hmm.
And he's seen what happens if you get to where Kenseth doesn't like racing with you.
So it's something that.
So those are all factors in how you decide to pass him.
And it's a note that you put on here: the win and you're in conflict. And
let's go ahead and do it.
Wins matter more now in the regular season than they ever have, just because of what NASCAR has created with this rules package and the
that's
chase
exactly
now and
what
everything.
they wanted.
So yeah, it is what they wanted. I guess they want this conundrum. They want podcasters talking about it. They want the media to write stories about it, and they want the racers to have to make a decision. Was that the right decision?
It's hard to say.
I know.
It's hard to say.
I know.
Like if we look back, okay, if we get past Richmond in September and Kyle Larson is sitting 17th, 5 points out, everybody will second guess him. He'll second guess himself.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't necessarily be because of not winning this race.
Mm-hmm.
If he's sitting 22nd, 80 points out, he'll absolutely second-guess himself, because if I took the win there, then what does it matter what happened in between?
Yeah.
I would have been in the chase regardless. And I think that's where I start to get a little bristly.
a little bristly?
Get a little bristly.
Because
Go for it. I don't like the fact that you could finish 22nd in points and make the chase. Because I like the consistency, because there isn't another sport where we do that.
Mm-hmm.
At least there isn't another team, like a stick and ball sport we like to lean on. NASCAR is constantly trying to make that decision to be more like the stick and ball.
Sure.
What stick and ball can you hit this weird home run and all of a sudden you're in the playoffs?
the 18-run homer with the
it's worth like 6 wins.
Yeah, you hit it up in the gold deck somewhere.
Yeah, it's like if you hit it over there off the shiny thing, then that's worth 6 wins. Like, no, it doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, if you throw a perfect game, you're in the playoffs.
Right, you're in the playoffs. If you have a pitcher that can throw a perfect game, you're in. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would question. And I I love what NASCAR's done to create this, the reason why we're having this conversation. Right. I hate the idea that someone who isn't running well enough to compete would get in. Because if you finish 22nd in the points after 26 races, you're not competing.
That's a good point. I read something great on the Turn 4 segment that ESPN does. I think
I love that.
Pockris put it out and gets 4 guys. McGee's in there. Marty Smith is in there sometimes. I'm not sure how to pronounce
Sensei,
the name.
Ricky Craven's usually in there.
Is in there. Yep.
The Oreo
Oreo dude.
Oreo cookie guy. I don't know who the hell that is.
McGee had a great perspective on this that, again, it doesn't answer the question for you, but it gives you some perspective. And I think it was Ted Musgrave that he brought up. And he said he remembers back in 96, 97, something like that, Ted Musgrave finished second in a similar ordeal where he could have turned somebody and got the win. And Ted Musgrave at the time, upon interviewing with McGee, said, I want my first NASCAR Cup win to be clean, and so I'm not gonna turn anybody for it. And he ended the comment by saying Ted Musgrave is still looking for that first NASCAR Cup win.
Right, 20 years later.
Holy moly!
And not having that is so.
That's
when you
strong.
told me that earlier,
Yeah.
that resonated strong.
Yeah.
So, and to piggyback that, what Kyle Larson did by not wrecking Kenseth tells me he has the confidence that he's going to win.
That's a very good point.
And that he doesn't have, and then he also doesn't want his first win,
quote unquote,
to be discussed as anything other than Kyle Larson's first win.
Yeah.
Now, that is hedging bets against winning.
It's hedging bets a little bit.
Which sometimes doesn't happen. Let's say Roger. I'm going to spin this way back. I'm going to go down the white rabbit hole.
Before you do that, I'll say this real quick. Joey Logano's first win.
This is where I'm going.
Oh, crap. I've did I just burn it?
No, you
Sorry.
didn't. You didn't.
No, Joey Logano's first win was in the rain, and it was shortened, and nobody remembers that now because he's great.
Right. So here's
Sorry.
Here's where I was going. No, this is perfect.
Okay.
This is perfect. AJ Allmendinger doesn't have the Adderall deal.
Yeah.
The 22 ride is not available. Where does Joey end up after he's fired by Joe Gibbs? With only the 2 wins, one he earned like for sure at Pocono, and then the one, like you said, is rookie year win in the rain where they screwed up. They pitted when they weren't supposed to, and then, oh shit, we're leading, and the rain came out.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. It wasn't tire strategy, fuel strategy, or anything. It was dumb luck that got him that win.
Yeah.
And so what team does he go to if Penske doesn't have a car for him?
Was Casey already at Hendrick at that point?
Yes.
He was? Okay.
Yes. This is his third year at Penske.
He could have been one of the inaugural SHR guys.
Well,
I don't know.
For
He
sure,
would have found a ride.
We could pontificate.
But
is the Penske situation so? I got just continual goosebumps.
Is
the Penske situation so good for Joey with Brad as a mentor? Brad wants him. He's pumping the confidence. I want this guy as my teammate. I know he can drive. That matters, as we know. Driver confidence is huge. If he doesn't get that opportunity with Roger Penske, is Joey nothing right now? Is he he's got his 2 wins, but is he
not the guy, not sliced bread?
Not sliced bread. He's 17. He now has more wins than Casey. I mean, what are we talking about? Or, no, he's got 13, so he's still chasing. But, I mean, it's such a weird deal. So that's why it's fun to have the dichotomy of the guy that wants to do everything the right way, but golly, what if doing it the wrong way is the way you get the win that propels you to all the things that come next?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if the win activates a particular sponsor that doesn't care that you dump somebody?
Well, and that's what
they start shoveling money in, and your car gets better, and your team gets better, and all of a sudden you start winning races.
So my argument would be that if you're not going to do it, somebody else is going to do it, and so you might and hey, we're Casey Kane fans here. Casey ain't never going to dump somebody. We watched it at Bristol. He ain't going to dump nobody for the win. I think he needs to. I think you got to, especially running 16th or 19th in points. We'll get to that in a minute.
You're gonna love when you listen to Nate Ryan's podcast about Dustin Long. He's the second part. Denny Hamlin was the first part of the podcast, but Dustin Long. And I don't want to draw this out because I want y'all to go listen to that podcast, and I want y'all to listen to it before ours. But sometimes you can't do it. But basically, what he said is there's two ways of thought. Actually, there's 3. Let's call it the 3-headed monster. There's everybody looks at the way he raced Kenseth and said Kyle Larson is a very respectful racer. Mm-hmm. The flip side of that is Kyle Larson is a very respectful racer. If I can keep him behind me, I know he's not going to dump me.
Ooh.
And then there's the other school thought of, well, maybe he only races Kenseth that way because they have a relationship on track. And Kyle Larson bumps into other people, and so they don't have any love lost for him. Like, just because you race Kenseth that way doesn't mean you race everybody else that way.
Good question. Well, here's the thing.
That's why it's a 3-headed monster.
Don't they talk about it in prison? You got to go in and beat up the next guy that you see so that you're not the
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what you
I think
the
he's
first
go
guy that looks
up.
cross-eyed at you got to punch him in the face.
Right.
And everybody else is like, okay.
Yeah, I think he needs to punch the next guy in the face.
Otherwise, you're going to be somebody's
Right. You're going to be somebody's So in order to not be the which I think God bless it. I think Casey kind of is in a little way.
Casey's definitely
yeah.
What do you think Kyle Busch thinks of Casey after 3 times he's wrecked him?
Oh,
Casey has done nothing.
It's move him at will.
It's if I crash into this guy, I don't care. He's not going to do anything about it.
And I'll still get the win, and I'll still celebrate, and I'll kiss the girl and make out with the sorry, I'm going too far.
You might have went a little far. That was a little deep. Did you get your tongue in there? Excuse me.
Who?
Moving on.
Sprint Cup girl's looking good.
Woo!
I'm saying. So, at least get the high five from the Sprint Cup girl. That's where we'll go. So,
yeah, Madison. I'll tell you what. Wait,
who are we talking about?
What?
All right. So, let's get off of Dover. That was fun.
That was
fun. Let's.
What are we doing next?
Well, let's talk about. We had a little bit of. I just blew that one out of the water, too. So apologies, everybody. I wanted it to be a little bit better sound on this one, and I thought that would require more volume, of course, and I think I turned that one up to about 11 or 12. So
could have been.
Yep. Sorry about that. But little mistake. Yeah, I'll let you go for it.
Owning screw-ups. I have one written down. I have one to add.
Okay.
So I said that Junior had not won, so I thought that was an acceptable dark horse pick for you. He won in his rookie season in the September race.
Which is so cool that he won in his rookie season at Dover, by the way, is what we're talking about.
At Dover.
We had said, and by the way, you said that, and I'm just over here nodding like one of them bobblehead dolls here. Just going, oh, yeah. No, he hadn't won at Dover. Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Well, I mean, it was was like his rookie year, or his sophomore year, actually. His rookie year was 2000. The other thing was, I caught myself. I said everything right about the Jamie McMurray penalty, where they hip checked the body and had to go in and fix it, except for I said they went in the driver's side window. They actually went in the passenger side. Okay. I even got it right. That's because it's such a fast track. They have to run a right side window and blah, blah, and just, you know, it is when you're talking, your brain just thinks you have said the right thing and you keep going.
No, it's all good. It's all good. That's, that's why we have this segment. Speaking of screw-ups, how about Harvick to Hendrick? We'll talk about that for just a second.
Right. Okay, so people that were doing the Harvick to Hendrick thing, kindly go play in traffic.
Go jump in the lake, play in traffic. There is Jeff Gluck wrote a great article kind of exposing the reason why that came out, showing what, quote-unquote, the media actually did, which I was...
The media.
It opened my eyes up a little bit. It gave a good perspective, so good on him for writing that. But essentially all he's saying is the media had nothing to do with this. There was one guy who did it.
There was one jerk.
Yeah, there was one dude.
And then a whole bunch of Dodo Bird fans that,
that
just
latched
kept
onto
hitting the
it.
beach ball.
Right. And the media kept going, we have no actual report of this being the thing. You know, you talk to Kevin Harvick and he's like, I am very happy where I'm at. And think about this too. This is Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart in the background. They're going to troll people too. That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
If Kevin goes to Tony and says, hey, Tony, everybody's asking me about, what the deal is with the Hendrick thing. Tony goes, I don't know, just egg him on a little bit, make it more fun. Like, that he would do that. So I like
Tony definitely would. Kevin definitely would.
Exactly, those two guys would, if anybody would.
Well, and we saw Delana and Kevin both interact with Chipper Jones on Twitter, because Chipper was getting the same kind of somebody saying, "Well, Chipper's going to be the next manager of the Braves."
Yeah.
And then so they're both kind of like, yeah, I guess they're getting their information from the same source.
Yeah.
And they may have been.
Yeah. So that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, it was entertaining for a minute. I think those of us with level heads knew all along that there was no way that was happening, because Kevin had stated 459 times he wanted to be at SHR basically the rest of his career.
Everybody else didn't.
And gee whiz, I don't know why you'd want to stay. That car sucks. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man. You wrote this down as a note, and I had no idea where to put it, and so it's inconveniently right here. You'd said something about the difference between the center corner speed and the end of straightaway speed.
Oh, this was Denny's conversation on Nate, and I think we've understood this all along, but maybe didn't describe it as specifically as the thing that makes for great racing and passing, which is what we want to see. We want to see a guy that can make his car go faster over the course of a run, be able to pass the guy he's catching. Mm-hmm. The difference has to be that the center corner speed, the slowest speed you run on the track, and the difference between that speed and the end of straightaway speed needs to be maximized.
So you need to be going as slow as possible.
I mean, the biggest difference possible created between the fastest speed and the slowest speed.
Explain that to me a little bit. Like, why wouldn't that be the shortest amount and they both be very high?
Well, because if you're the same speed all the way around the track like the Xfinity cars are, the car only wants to run one line, and everybody's car wants to run that line. If you can maximize the separation between slowest speed and highest speed, the driver gets to pick the line, and he gets to choose when he wears his tires out. Whether he does it early, does it in the middle, or he does it late.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective. I like that. I like
Now
that. Sorry, I
dropping
kind of buried
knowledge
it.
with the engineer.
That's right. I'm embarrassed now that I just kind of stuck it in here somewhere because I didn't know where it went and then forgot about it. But I'm glad you said that. So biggest difference between center corner speed, or the slowest part of the track, and into straightaway speed, fastest part of the track, gets multiple lanes going and gets it in the driver's hands.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Very cool. So what we need is even more of a paperclip. So get one of them Sonoma turns.
Well, and then they can come back in and add the horsepower back.
Uh-huh.
Or we can go ahead and do what we know we need to do, which is drop down to a 5-liter displacement instead of 6, and make the same horsepower that we're making today.
Yep. Kyle Petty talked about that on whose podcast was that? Shoot, we're talking about everybody's podcast. Nate's podcast, a couple weeks ago.
That's
about
at Nate Ryan.
Yep, at Nate Ryan. Does a great podcast.
NBC Sports NASCAR.
So, yeah, interesting. Let's move on to something we're gonna have to call ourselves out on, dude.
What did we do now?
Cheaters! There's been some cheaters. We'll get to ours.
Just a second.
Okay, no, go ahead.
People have gotten mad at me on the Twitter box for hashtagging all caps tweeter or cheaters. Yep. What y'all need to understand, and we say this very affectionately. We've talked about how we yell at football games, but the thing about cheating in NASCAR is it's fun to make fun of the guys you don't like when they do it, depending on what the cheating is. Like, if it's speeding on pit road, you a cheater.
Oh, yeah, cheater.
But if you showed up with something really cool to the racetrack, and NASCAR was like, I don't know if I like that, cheater, and calls you out,
it's a term of endearment at that point.
That's how the sport innovates. Yep. NASCAR cannot spend enough money to innovate correctly and distribute knowledge across the manufacturers. So they challenge all the teams to find ways to work the gray area by writing the rules as loosely as they can. Now, we all get fired up about NASCAR and their damn rule book. But the reality is it's really smart the way they do it. Say, you can if it's not written there, it's liberal interpretation, which is crazy because it's an extremely conservative fan base that supports the sport. I don't know how to mix that up, so we won't. But by allowing the teams to operate in the gray areas, they can approve or disapprove of innovation, but it forces the teams to innovate and allows them competitive advantage when they find a gray spot that NASCAR's cool with them operating in.
Yep. And there's different shades of gray. Oh, there's 50 shades of gray. Womp womp.
Well, there's stinkless farts and then there's stinky farts. And that's the difference.
Yeah. And so there's
farts that don't stink are funny.
That's true. That's very true. Farts that do stink are funny to one person only.
The one person.
One guy. And sometimes not even that guy. Yeah. Sometimes just, sorry, guys, I'm out. Anyway, that dark gray area versus the light gray area versus the boundary line. We don't know where it is, but we know when it's cheating.
And that's what NASCAR is trying to do is they're trying to say, look, we don't know what constitutes cheating, but we're gonna let you know when we think we've seen cheating. Yeah.
So last week we had Kyle Busch win the race.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Sorry, I meant 2 weeks ago wins a race and then has one of our first big lug nut penalties.
Well, the one Ronnie Childers told us we were going to have, but I think we had it in a way that was different than we expected.
So I don't know if we ever got a confirmation on what it was.
I all but confirmed it myself in my head.
Shaved down the
pretty sure they had
threads.
machined down the threads on the stud.
Yeah.
So that the lug was unmodified, which was in the rule book.
Yeah.
But there was nothing about the stud.
Well, so a couple things about that. First off, I think you got to practice that because you don't know where that stud's going to be when you get on pit road. You have to.
You know how you do it? You know how you get caught too? Is you mark it with a special piece of pink tape.
Yeah, if you put some tape on there,
all of the lugs that were marked with pink tape had not been hit by a wrench, so that all the paint was still on them.
Okay.
There was no rounded edges or no
that's
paint
the way they found
had
it.
chipped off.
In other words, for everybody listening, trying to visualize this, 4 of the lugs they can hit. The 5th one, they have machined down the stud that the lug goes on so that it doesn't have to be screwed in. It just goes right on.
And it's super glued
I was
to the
going to say,
wheel.
and secondly, you got to have some strong adhesive. We're talking about
Gorilla Glue.
Yeah. We're talking about Blues Brothers adhesive, strong stuff.
Metal epoxy is probably what they use.
Yeah. So JB Weld stuff.
Yeah, JB Weld, exactly.
Yeah. So
plug a sponsor, JB Weld.
There you go.
Epoxy.
There you go.
That's right.
So you know what? That's a cool cheat.
I loved it.
That's a cool cheat.
I thought it was cool as hell. The only thing
That's old school NASCAR-ish.
The only thing that raised my hair that it was Gibbs, and I'm like, I thought Gibbs tries to play that I beat my Bible card all the time, that I don't cheat. Blah, blah. Whatever, dude. That was really cool innovation. They circumnavigated the rule book. NASCAR was like, you got one, but I'm taking your crew chief.
I'm taking your crew chief. Now here's the thing though. You got to be careful with that once we start getting into the chase and stuff. What if this happens in Miami,
you heard it on
Homestead?
If you heard door bumper clear, you know that Spotter Brett and TJ were both saying them same guys were still doing that same crap with them lug nuts. I don't know. I mean, they may have been doing something a little bit different, but it was still only hitting the 4 sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
More power to them. No wheel broke off and landed in the damn stands. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure one would ever land in the stand. We
I'm
hadn't
not
seen
sure
a
either.
wheel break off since Vickers. Was that Charlotte in the Red Bull car where it went flying off into the center of turn 1
was
and
that
2?
even due to lugs? Or did it just shear off? Well, it might have been loose, but
I can't. I think the center of the wheel broke
out. That's
out.
what I'm saying. Yeah, it was the wheel that busted, not the. And it might have been due to a vibration there, but that's
Could have been.
That's tightening up lugs. That's not 4 versus 5.
Exactly.
So whatever. Can't take a drink at the same time. We'll have a long pause there.
Yeah.
So
my bad.
Next cheater is I'm bringing up Hamlin again only because he had another pit road violation. It was some sort of
did we talk about what our guy cheated about?
No, we'll get that in a second.
Oh, okay. Shit.
It was improper. That's 2. It's not even PG-13 anymore.
No, that's F-bombs with PG-13.
Okay, all right. Improper fueling is what this one was. Now,
Hamlin, that's 2 of those for him, right?
I only bring it up because, this is death by 1,000 cuts with Hamlin right now.
They must be trying. Okay, so they
I don't know what
they
they're
got
doing.
their 500 win, right?
Yeah.
So
they're in.
They got it knocked off the list the very first time out. They've been screwing around.
Oh, they've been. They've been walking the dog.
And the reason why I know that is you don't see the information coming out of their camp, but what we do see is Rodney Childers is guilty of allowing a little bit too much information to come out of his mouth when Twitter people start yelling at him so Kevin Harvick had a bunch of bad pit stops. They didn't cheat, but they had a bunch of bad ones. And so somebody's like, y'all need to get your ish together on pit road. This is bullspit.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, well, we can try new technology in our air guns now and maybe take some lumps across the way. Yep. Or we can go with the gun we know is bulletproof but might be slower. And then when we get to the chase, we're upset that we didn't spend all summer R&D'ing on new guns.
Yeah.
So
that's
which
when
do
they
you
had
want?
Those guns that everybody was.
What do you want?
What in the world is that noise?
Like, you want us to be good at the chase? You want us to have good pit stops now? Like, we're trying stuff is what he's saying. Like, we're trying to get better.
Yep.
And that's what's caused our bad pit stops. So, anywho. I cut you off straight off. But,
no, it's all good.
Well, it was
that
obvious.
Was the cheat.
So to me, it's obvious that Hamlin's team they're monkeying around with the gas can and the intake.
Okay.
They're monkeying around with timing lines, trying to really get it dialed in when they can speed and when they can't. Because he's getting caught for speed and their gas filling every week for 5 weeks in a row.
Well, and it's a good point that they are experimenting because you don't see them. You don't see Hamlin just if I were Hamlin and I didn't have a win right now and all this is happening, I mean, you're just going to be beside yourself pissed on the radio. You would be.
And he's famously a pouter.
Right.
And he's not pouting.
Right.
That's what lets you know they're goofing off.
So, yeah. Last cheater. We are unabashedly Casey Kane fans here. And he got a, 4th place finish and then immediately docked 15 points minus...
Failed
a crew chief
failed
for
the lasers.
Failed the lasers, and they're saying it was messed up during the race or whatever. Something
bent trailing arms.
Yeah, bent trailing arms.
So the body, well, they're working on something. So they're putting what's going on is in order to skew the ass end out enough to get the side bite they need, they're putting in a soft piece somewhere, or a weak piece that's either bending or breaking. Which is why those guys were going down the back straightaway at Kansas, crashing into the wall to bend it back. Well, Casey didn't do that, or the piece actually broke and didn't. There's no way he could. So the body ends up sitting skewed on top of the chassis.
Mm-hmm. Back to them crab crawling cars.
Crab crawling type stuff. And then there's no way it's passing lasers at that point.
Right. So, got to take one on the chin there. What can you do? The bummer is
we cheated.
The bummer is docking the points for a guy who's trying to get in pretty much on points. Yeah. Dropped from 16th down to 20th. Yeah. 16th is magic number. 20th is... that's rough, and it also goes to show you how close that chase is right now, halfway through the regular season, or coming up on
Kyle
halfway.
Larson's right in that same territory.
Yep.
He's 18th, I think. I think because of Casey's penalty, he moved up to 17th.
Yep. All-Star race coming up next week.
How about it, man?
How about it? We've got...
how about that damn qualifying? We talked about it before.
I'm excited about qualifying, of course. That's
tomorrow night.
One of the most fun.
I mean, please. If it has to rain on Saturday night and they have to push that thing till Sunday, cool. But
So
for love of Pete, let's not rain out the qualifying for the Cup All-Star race.
Right.
That thing's so much fun.
Too much fun. They do hot qualifying laps. Here's the thing.
You have two laps with a pit stop.
2 laps with a pit stop, and the pit stop, there is no speed limit on the pit stop.
No pit road speed limit.
You just have to stop within your box.
So if you're super tricky with braking, like some of those road course guys like Dinger, or if you're Kurt Busch and you've driven an Indy car, so you're just fearless.
Yeah.
Hit pit road at 160 miles an hour. And
That's
just see what happens.
Yep. One of the other things hitting the rumor mill is Larson possibly driving the Indy 500 and the Coke 600.
I think Matt Bishop was being overly excited. I mean, they had to have already announced it. Practice already started.
Good point.
He's not. That's not happening.
That was a rumor for a short amount of time, and other people were picking this up because he was suspiciously in certain places that would possibly make him.
He was Target's puppet.
That's true. That's a good point.
There's 2 Indy cars that have Target on them.
Yep. One
and Ganassi and Penske
successful.
are pretty much the ones that have been winning Indy 500s. So.
Yep.
I mean, it was. I think he probably wanted to be there more than he was. I said he was Target's puppet. I bet Kyle just wanted to be there, and they were like, "Yeah, cool PR."
Yeah, go for it. Should the venue change for All-Star Race? That's been a big topic.
Hickory, Bowman Gray, Greenville Pickens, Rockingham, something in the area that's different than what we do next weekend.
Totally agree in terms of. Make it something completely different and make it something local. I agree with the guys who want to make it local. That's fine.
Yeah, there's so many good tracks.
Yep. But Bowman Gray, holy
Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach.
It's the right time for people to go to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And it's all within an hour and a half, 2 hours of Charlotte. I think that's what you want to give these teams the hometown feel. Give the hometown fans something to be proud about living in NASCAR country because with North Wilkesboro going by the wayside, Rockingham going by the wayside, obviously Hickory and Bowman Gray have been gone from NASCAR for quite some time. The old, you know what? We pick on the old NASCAR guard quite a bit.
Yeah.
Give them a reason to come on back.
Yeah. Give them some props here. It's time to make some picks. You know what that means.
Uh-oh.
Driver, start your engine!
There's our guy. Now, for the All-Star race, I mean, anything goes here, and I don't think we need a dark horse because this is the
Well, are we going to pick the showdown and the All-Star race, or what are we doing here?
I was just going to pick the All-Star race.
Okay, that's fine with me.
And you had picked Larson props, by the way, last week, and he finished second. Possibly.
And where did my dark horse finish?
First, I believe your dark horse finished third.
Average of 2.5 for old Sure Daddy.
But old Sure Daddy did not get the W.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, it's all good. I picked Jimmy, and I believe I picked Jimmy and Earnhardt, and
pretty much lost in the same wreck.
Both had one had an issue that caused the other to also have an issue. Anyway.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and just throw this out there just because I can. I get to go first. So I'm picking first. So in the showdown, I'm picking Chase to transfer because 5 cars are going to transfer.
Okay.
But for the All-Star race, I got to go with the Gibbs car. And so I'm going to go with Denny in light of all the messing around on pit road they've been doing.
Okay.
So I'm going to pick Chase to transfer on, not on vote, but on performance.
Yeah.
And Denny's going to win the race
Well,
for the second year in a row.
I'll go for the heartfelt Matt DiBenedetto for the transfer on fan
God, if
vote.
he could win a segment, that would be so cool. He's not going to win the fan
cool
vote
too.
because it's going to be Danica.
Yeah, bummer. But, hey, that's my heartfelt vote.
You can pick it, though,
I'm just
because
going
it
for,
might happen.
You know what? This is just a vote more than a pick. But that would be cool as hell. The DiBurrito car.
DiBurrito!
As he's calling it. All right. For my pick in the All-Star race, I'm going with the architect himself, Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, I like it.
Hey, you gonna make the rules? You gotta be the
As
guy.
Spotter Brett said on DBC, how many Miller Lights that he had when he concocted this idea?
Yeah.
He said he was either buzzed or he was drunk.
Well, one of the two.
He was either halfway
sober.
in or he was all the way in. That wasn't a sober creation.
yeah. Speaking of racing, we've got the Preakness this weekend. You think the old NyQuil truck is going to win this race?
What was the name of the Nyquist? That's right. That's right. I tweeted out the picture. I was like, all proud of myself for knowing horse racing. I'm like, look at him. He's got him tucked in. Yeah. So I'm gonna root for it.
Oh hell yeah!
I'm gonna give me some sprigs of mint, and I'm gonna make a julep.
Is this a julep race? What is this?
It is. They're all juleps.
They're all julep races. Heck with it. Who
Preakness,
cares?
I mean, that's natty light. They say that's the wildest infield there's ever been ever.
Ooh.
Like, forget Talladega. The Preakness infield is bonkers.
Awesome.
It's just only for one day.
Well, we'll go there at some point, I'm sure. Let's go ahead, and we actually have a couple shout-outs. So here they are. Hello, Mr. Sheep.
All right.
Our shout-outs for today, I think, I can't remember if we've shouted him out before, but old Roger Diamond, at ROJODI, always quick to interact with us, enjoy interacting with him, and he's always fun to talk to. Always has a good
he's very
perspective.
level-headed.
Yeah, good old guy.
So he's a lot of fun to talk to.
You had another one.
Yeah, this is sort of a new follower, Elaine Jarrell. I hope I'm saying that correctly. At ELAINECJARRELL. I believe she's a Georgia native. She's a huge Braves fan, and she's also a huge Casey Kane fan.
Ooh, that's right up our alley right there.
Okay, and I went.
What you drinking, Elaine?
Yeah, I went and found
I'm married.
Heather's handle. So Kenny's girlfriend Heather is our Periscope champion for watching all of
Excellent.
our 4K cars races go around the track up there in Iowa, and her handle is at Heather HEATHER to the number kids KIDS and then the number 412. So Heather
412. I said 420 because you know where my mind's at.
Well, blaze it down, brother.
With that, let's start closing that. You know what we do when we close this thing out? It's time.
I'm getting in there.
Oh yeah, get after
loud,
it.
wasn't it?
That's the Jellybean Closeout Challenge.
Jellybean
is what that
Closeout
sounds like.
Challenge. Here we go.
Oh, gotta get my mouth full. Oh, it's good.
chocolate stuff.
Got a lot of jelly beans in the mouth.
Old Jellybean. Shout out to right front tire. The dude's been sick all week or something. He's not been feeling good.
Well, bummer.
Ashley Stang, she's getting her MS treatment this week, so she's been in the hospital.
Well, cheers to you. Hats
Shout
off.
out to
Best
her.
luck to you. Y'all know where to follow. Hey, quick! We have all 48 episodes up, now 49 fixing to be, on YouTube.
Oh, and
we're YouTube stars.
Hell yeah, we're YouTube stars. Old Maggie Dubs has been busier than one-legged man in ass kicking contest with all the stuff going on in Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Oh, yeah. Working out up there. Awesome. So good luck to her this weekend and break a leg on the couple of weeks coming up. The old fart gack over there is working hard.
A little gross.
y'all know where to follow us, and be sure. Hey, you can find this podcast everywhere. Just search Google for PETM
We got this
podcast.
thing on everything on the internet.
It's on the Google Music. I need some more beer. Jellybeans. It's on the Google Music Play thing. It's on iTunes. We got it, like we said, on YouTube. Get your sticker, y'all. Get your sticker free. Just let us know.
Megan playing that thing is fun. She got a sticker.
Yep.
Yeah, you follow me at PregameENG on the old Twitter box.
Follow the podcast at PETM Podcast. Be sure to go to the website, PETMpodcast.com. And I'm Tailgate Mayor at Tailgate Mayor. And we're going to talk to y'all next week.
Thumbs. Oh!